In the name of Allah, the most compassionate, the most merciful, and may the peace and blessing of Allah be upon His last and beloved Messenger Muhammad, and may the peace and blessing of Allah be upon you all. The title of this lecture is The Cure for Excessive Fear from the Guidance of the Quran. Now, excessive fear and anxiety is a main problem with people nowadays. And in this lecture I will show how to find the cure for this problem. Now, in general, any problem a person faces, the way to deal with it is threefold. Firstly, to identify the symptoms of this problem. Secondly, to know the cause, what causes this problem, and how to cure it. So let's apply these three kind of steps to the problem of excessive fear and anxiety in people. Now, firstly, what are the symptoms of excessive fear and anxiety? Now, I will talk about 4 symptoms, but this applies to all kinds of anxieties. Now, firstly, the excessive fear of poverty. Now, the symptoms of a person hears in his mind thoughts telling him that he will be poor, he will become poor, and calamities will befall him. And at the same time, this is one of the symptoms as well, that he feels in his chest like tightness in the chest and heavy, like there is a heavy load on the chest. Another kind of symptom of excessive fear is the fear of a person becoming sick. Thoughts coming to a person's mind telling him that tomorrow or the day after you will be struck with this illness, you will have so much kind of problems, you will be in so much pain, and at the same time tightness in the chest and heavy load on the chest. Another symptom, excessive fear of failure. When a person, for example, applies for a job, then a thought comes to him, or an exam, that you will fail, you will not accomplish anything, and these kind of thoughts. Also, the excessive fear of being unclean. Thoughts coming to a person's mind telling him that you are unclean, so go and wash yourselves many times over. So there is the fear, and there are kind of the rituals that a person hears in his mind to get rid of this fear. So now we identified the kind of the symptoms of this problem. Now, coming to the cause. What causes the problem of excessive fear? Now, the only book on the face of the earth which teaches you the cause and cure for this problem is the Quran, the last revelation of Allah God to people. So from the Quran we can know the cause for this problem, and we can know it by pondering upon the following verses from the Quran. Firstly, verse 175 of chapter 3 of the Quran, which reads, "It is only Satan that suggests you the fear of his supporters and friends, so fear them not, but fear me if you are believers." So here Allah is telling us one of very important facts about Satan, that he engenders fear in people. That Satan, he produces and engenders fear in a person. So this is one thing that we'll come back to in a minute. The other verse in the Quran, which verse number 268 of chapter 2 of the Quran, which reads, "Satan threatens you with poverty and orders you to commit sinful acts, whereas Allah God promises you forgiveness from Himself and bounty, and Allah God is all sufficient for His creatures' needs, all knower." So from this Quranic verse we learn that Allah is telling us that Satan threatens you with poverty, meaning he produces the fear of poverty in a person. So we learn from these 2 verses that the only cause for excessive fear and anxiety is Satan. Satan engenders this kind of problem in a person. Now, to understand how Satan can cause a person to be in so much fear and anxiety, we need to understand how does Satan affect each and every one of us. And the only book on the face of the earth which explains in details, in complete details, how does Satan affect us is the Quran. And we can know this by pondering upon 2 verses from the Quran. The first verse is verse number 4 of chapter 114 of the Quran, which reads, "From the evil of the whisperer who hides." So we learn from this that Allah is telling us that Satan whispers to us Each and every one of us has a companion devil. So your companion devil, Satan, he whispers to you. Allah is telling us that Satan whispers to you, meaning he talks to you like a person talking to you. But at the same time, he hides from you, meaning that he doesn't want you to feel his presence. Now, how can Satan accomplish this? Because if a person talks to you, you recognize there is another kind of person in the room. But how does Satan can talk to you day and night and you don't feel his presence? Now, the only way he can accomplish this is if he matches his voice with regards to tone, language, with the voice you hear in your head. Because every one of us, when we think quietly, we hear our same voice in our head. So what Satan does, he matches his voice with regards to tone, your style of speech, the languages you know, to the one you hear in your mind. And you start experiencing thoughts, like if yourself is telling you this, well actually it's Satan, he's popping up like a thoughts pop up in your mind. So this is the mechanism or the way that Satan affects each and every one of us. That you experience thoughts in your mind. And these thoughts are from Satan. You think that yourself is telling you this, that you are thinking to yourself with these kind of thoughts, but actually it's your companion devil. And I'll come to this in a minute. And another kind of symptom of the effect of Satan on people, we can learn from chapter 113, verse 4 in the Quran, which reads, and from the evil of the blowers in the knots. Also we learn from this verse that Allah is telling us that Satan, this companion devil, he stimulates the knots. What are the knots? If we look at the human brain, we see that the neurons, they are arranged like a neural clusters, like knots. So what Satan does is that he stimulates these nodes or these knots or these clusters. Why? Because these clusters, normally they are responsible. One of their functions to cause kind of contraction or relaxation in muscles, in skeletal muscles. So what Satan does is that, let's say the problem of being unclean, excessive fear of being unclean, your companion devil comes to you with a voice match the one you think with in your mind, telling you as if you are thinking to yourself with these thoughts, telling you, look, you are unclean, you are dirty. And at the same time, he stimulates these neural nodes in the brain that gives you tightness in the chest. Remember me telling you about the symptoms that the people experience, like heavy load on the chest. This is the work of Satan, that he stimulates the neural nodes in the brain that produces tightness in the chest. So Satan whispers you with the idea and gives you a matching feeling, a feeling matching this idea, to make it more real, to make it more realistic. And also what Satan does, that he whispers to you in your mind, he tells you in your mind by a voice match the one you think with, telling you ways to deal with this fear, to get rid of it. He will tell you, for example, look, you need to go and wash yourself many times over. Washing. And the aim of Satan in this is not for you to be clean, but to cause you, for example, skin problems, to be in so much pain, to waste your life and time washing unnecessarily many times over. And this applies also to all kinds of symptoms of excessive fear. For example, the fear of poverty. Satan comes to you with a voice match the one you think with, telling you, look, you'll become poor, calamities will befall you, and with the tightness in the chest. And he tells you, look, the way to go out of this kind of fear, steal money. Go and steal money, you'll become rich. So you notice that Satan gives you the wrong kind of way to deal with these anxieties, this anxiety. Because Satan wants you to do acts that will bring you pain and despair in this life and the hereafter. It's not that he cares about you, but he comes to you in a disguise of an advisor. He comes to you in your mind as if he's advising you, do this and do that and you'll be okay. But actually what he wants from you is not to do good things or things that will bring you kind of will rid you of your fears, but actually to do things that will bring you pain and despair in this life and the hereafter. Also, the excessive kind of fear of illness. Satan comes to you with a voice match the one you think with, telling you, look, you'll become ill, you'll have cancer, you'll have AIDS. Gives you all kind of this kind of fear in your mind. And then again tightness in the chest by stimulating neural nodes, and he tells you, look, the way out of this is to go to check yourself many times in the day. So he'll put you in a kind of vicious cycle of repeating a certain act until it becomes so much of a burden on you that you will be in so much pain in this life. Again, also the excessive fear of failure. For example, you have a job interview, Satan, or you have an exam in the university or in school. Satan comes to you with a voice match the one you think with in your mind, telling you, look, you'll fail in the exam, you'll be mocked by people and so forth. So how the way out of it, he tells you in your mind, as if a person is talking to you. He tells you, look, go and cheat. There is nothing wrong. He will tell you, Satan will tell you, there is nothing wrong in cheating. So you'll become in much more trouble in your life. So you see, brothers and sisters, the mechanism of Satan, that he puts these ideas in your mind, builds up this excessive fear, ties it in the chest, and he gives you wrong ways to deal with this fear. All going against the guidance of Allah God Almighty. You see. Now, after we learn from the Quran the cause for excessive fear in a person, what's the cure? Also, the Quran, the book of mercy of Allah God Almighty to people, gives you the cure. And we can find the cure in 2 verses in the Quran. We see, brothers and sisters, that something that people fail to do, Allah gives us the answer in few minutes. So the first verse that gives us the cure for this, verse number 168 of chapter 2 of the Quran, which reads, O people, eat of that which is lawful and good on the earth, and follow not the footsteps of Satan. Verily, he is to you an open enemy. So here Allah God Almighty is telling us that Satan to us is an enemy, and also is telling us, do not follow the footsteps of Satan. Meaning that the cure for this problem of excessive fear, do not believe nor carry out what Satan is telling you in your mind. For example, Satan is telling you that you are unclean with a voice match when you think with. Don't believe that. Now you know that the voice is not yourself, is not coming from yourself, it's from Satan. It's an enemy for you. He wants to waste your life. Don't believe these thoughts, and do not carry out what he's telling you. Go and wash yourself many times over. Do not do that. Simple as that. The cure, expose the Satan and do not follow what he's telling you. As simple as that. The other the other verse that gives us more details on this, verse number 201 of chapter 7 of the Quran, which reads, Verily, those who are pious, when an evil thought comes to them from Satan, they remember and then they see. So here Allah God Almighty is telling us that whenever a thought comes to you from Satan, that you remember and then you see. Meaning that, for example, a thought comes to you in your mind telling you that you'll become ill and these kind of illnesses will befall upon you. You remember what you are hearing now. You remember the guidance of Allah God Almighty, and remember the Quran, and you will see. Meaning that you know what's happening to you, and you know that they are all lies designed to hurt you. Do not carry out what Satan is telling you. This is the cure for excessive fear from the guidance of the Quran. And as I said, modern psychology failed to know the cause and the solution for this problem, while from the guidance of the Quran we know the cause and the cure, and this is from the mercy of Allah Almighty unto people. But because the majority of people, they deserted the Quran, they find themselves in the pain and despair they find themselves into, and they don't find any solutions for the problems because they deserted the Quran. So please, brothers and sisters, we need to ponder upon the Quran, and we need to spread this information to people, such that they will see the beauty of Islam and the beauty of the knowledge of Allah God Almighty. And Allah God will give you the reward of the prophets for spreading His word and striving to make His word supreme. And to know more details about this topic, please visit my website at www.quran-miracle.com, and you can email me at zaidquran@yahoo.com, and may the peace and blessings of Allah be upon you all.